What up, Long Beach? Welcome back to your home for everything local sports. This is our weekly podcast. I'm JJ Fiddler, and across the table, my co-host, Mike Artabasio.
What's up, everybody? We are downtown at the offices of the Long Beach Post recording one of our two weekly podcasts that we record for them every week. We also do a big weekly sports feature. You can go to lbpost.com right now and check out our in-depth feature about Billie Jean King. Got a chance to talk to her about the library being named in her honor next month. And then JJ is right now working on a story that we're going to be doing every year for a while about the declining numbers of football players in the state of California. Took another big dip this year, now down really 13,000 over just the last 4 years.
Speaking of football, we've got our massive Long Beach prep football preview available right now at the562.org. It is also in this week's edition of the Grunion Gazette newspaper down there on 2nd Street. You can grab one. They're free. And it's got everything you need to know about this season, including a master schedule, pretty much every name of every starter in the Moore League, including St. Anthony, Avalon, and LBCC. Make sure you check that out because we're going to be talking about football on this episode. We're also going to be joined by managing editor Melissa Evans here at Long Beach Post to talk about why she's putting herself through the Long Beach Marathon this year.
But before we get to all of that, we just have a note, and you're going to be hearing this note from us on basically every platform, which is a lot of platforms for us, and you're going to be hearing it for the whole year. This is not a one-time push, but what we're asking everyone to do, go to the562.org, click on the story that says support the 562, and find out how you can sign up to support our fully tax-deductible nonprofit with a $5 or $10 monthly donation through our Patreon. We've had a great response to that subscriber push. We've already gotten 42 new subscribers, and we are looking to continue adding to that number each and every month, because if we don't, this will be your last year of sports coverage from Mike and JJ, your last year of What Up Long Beach, both the videos and the podcast, and obviously that is not what we want. We want to be around doing this for a long, long time, so be sure to go and sign up. Just $5 a month will ensure that Long Beach kids keep getting the sports coverage they deserve.
And it's really easy to find. It's the subscribe button in the top right-hand corner of the website. It's right there. It's huge. Just smash the heck out of it.
Summer is just about run its course in the city of Long Beach. I know my kid has got his school uniform ready to go, his new shoes laid out. I'm taking him to get his hair cut right now because school is back in session for the Long Beach Unified School District next Wednesday. But there are still a few days of summer left. You can get down to Naples Rib Company and enjoy Long Beach's taste of summer. You get all the ribs, all the brisket, the barbecue sauce, all the sides that you want. Down there, go get your food. Tell them Mike and JJ sent you.
We're back again for our O the Week segment, our question of the week, game of the week, players to watch of the week, quote of the week, and list of the week. Mike, let's get right into it. A lot of football coming your way right now. Like we said, the preview's available at the562.org for all of your Long Beach football teams. And our question of the week, everybody's been asking us, what game you going to this week?
Well, we're both starting the season at the same game. We're going to Wilson versus Mayfair at Bellflower High School on Thursday night at 7 p.m. I think this is the best game of the week.
But Thursday is not Friday night. The Friday night lights, Everybody's going to be in action except for Pauly, so that's going to be exciting. We've got some local games, too. We're not going to have to drive very far to see the guys.
Where are you going?
I'm thinking Lakewood. I'm thinking I want to go see what Scott Meyer has been able to do with the Lakewood Lancers. We will talk about that in just a second. But yeah, I'm excited to see what the next era of Lakewood Lancer football is looking like.
You've obviously covered, even more so than me or anyone else, the best eras of Lakewood football. You were there for the early days of Thad McNeil and that program turned around. Thad going to be back in town playing Hurricane Week 2, by the way, with Carlsbad group. I'm very excited to be on the sidelines for that one. I will be going to, I wish I was at the Milliken-Carson game this week. I'm excited to see that. Our good friend Tyler Hendrickson will be covering that one for us. But the game I'm going to is, if you love high school football as it appears in movies, I'm going to the game for you. St. Anthony hosting Valley Christian at Clark Field. This is going to be the small town America feel with these two lower division teams that have a lot of proud history. I'm excited to get over there. We have a lot of friends coaching on both sidelines of that game, as well as obviously a couple of really talented teams.
Yeah, that should be fun at Clark Field. That master schedule available at the562.org right now. So not just the schedule for week 1, August 23rd, but the schedule for the entire season. So you can mark your calendar down for the game that you absolutely need to see. And like Mike said, the game you absolutely need to see this week is on Thursday. We are starting the season together, which is pretty cool. We're going to go cover that game together at Yari Stadium, Bellflower High School. Wilson taking on Mayfair. It's the SP Cup. Mark Ziegenhagen, coach at Wilson, and Derek Bedell, coach at Mayfair, are good friends. Their kids played youth baseball together. They've known each other forever. And now they play for a trophy, first game of the year, every year. And the game has been interesting. Last year, Mayfair put it on Wilson. But Wilson had gotten Mayfair before that. So we really don't know what we're going to see on Thursday night, and that's why they play the game. You love these local rivalries. We used to call them the double dip when we were at Press Telegram. So we know Bedell, we know his program, we know some of the other coaches there at Mayfair. They've done an incredible job turning that program around at Mayfair, as has Zig at Wilson. So we're looking at two programs who were really mightily struggling, just getting thumped by their crosstown rival every year about 5 and 6 years ago. And then Bedell and Ziegenhagen both take over 5 years ago, and boom. They're competing
and
now.
I mean, Bedell was going to be coaching for Zig at Wilson.
It was very close
until he got the Mayfair job.
Yep. So that's going to be fun at Yari Stadium. If you can't make it out there on Thursday, make sure you find all of the coverage at the562.org. That's our game of the week. Our players of the week are actually in the gym, Mike.
Yes, the girls volleyball players. We talked about the football preview. If you have not yet seen the girls volleyball preview, be sure you go check that out, because basically they got the same treatment that the boys did. We got a full front page cover of the Gazettes for that section. We've got an article about every team, photos of all the top players. And, you mentioned it, players of the watch are girls volleyball, because they've already been in action since last weekend. We'll have a story up on the website rounding up how all the local teams did, but they all look good. Adanya Faumuina and Riley McGinnis for Long Beach Poly, both USA volleyball kids. Definitely their two top players. Risa Senna and Doris Huang at Wilson look like their top two. Over at Lakewood, Michaela Sorensen is a senior on a team full of youngsters. Laura Williams, though, is leading them offensively right now. And there's just kids everywhere. St. Anthony's got their setter, Isabella Bareford's committed to LMU. It's just exciting to see so much talent kind of spread all around the city.
Is this the most talented Long Beach girls volleyball has been since Megan Moanoa and Rebecca Strela were both setting for Lakewood and Wilson, respectively, for that 1 year when Megan was a little bit older?
Yeah, I actually think this is the most talented year that you and I have ever covered by a pretty wide margin. Lakewood doesn't have the senior studs that they usually do every year, but we've covered 0 USA volleyball kids in the Moore League, and there are 2 of them, right now on one team. And then, as I said, every team's kind of got these D1 level kids. Wilson's got a UCLA signee and Gabby Sonhalter, who's injured for the year, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, I love the talent level in the Moore League this year. And if I'm being honest with you personally, I'm more excited about covering girls volleyball matches over the next couple of weeks than I am about the football games.
Are we going to see multiple deep playoff runs from these volleyball teams? Like, are we going to cover multiple semifinals this season?
I think we can absolutely see 4 teams, maybe 5 teams making runs like that, depending on how they shake out. So,
wow.
Yes, yeah, it's going to be a special year. I'm excited to get you in the gym with me for some of these matches and get some highlights out to the people of these awesome kids doing their thing.
Now we move on to our quote of the week. Mike, we've really talked to a lot of people in the last few days doing all these interviews for the previews and everything, so we've gotten a lot of quotes. But by far, for me, quote of the week comes from Coach Scott Meyer over at Lakewood. As you should already know, our guy, Bobby Hawk, who's worked with so many football teams here in the city as the ball boy, as the equipment manager, taking care of stuff at LBCC and Wilson and St. Anthony. He is now over at Lakewood with Scott Meyer. Bobby Hawk, just an absolute joy to be around. And this is our quote of the week from Scott Meyer. Quote, "That smile he brings every day brings a lot of energy. It's been a lot of fun having him around." That's what it's all about, dude. That is what it's all about. Finding a community, helping people lift themselves up, and just being happy to see each other. Seeing Bobby out there at Lakewood, having him feel like he was included at Lakewood, was really, really cool. And it's not a coincidence that a Long Beach guy like Scott Meyer understands how important something like that is and understands how important that is in life, bringing people around you who smile and give you energy. It's a beautiful moment.
I mean, any moment. I love that you got Bobby in the front of the Lakewood video also. I'll just throw
Bobby
that out
has
there.
been in every highlight video of the team he's working for that season. The streak continues.
This is why everyone needs to subscribe. We need to keep this streak going for another 10 or 15 years. You know what I mean?
If not for Mike and JJ, do it for Long Beach Bobby. So our list of the week is going to get us into our football conversation because, like I said, preview's out right now. We've talked to everybody, and we've got what you need to know about each team in Long Beach.
Well, realistically, we've got more than people need to know.
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
it's just so much information.
Let's cut it down to 3. So let's give a top 3 things you need to know about each team. You know exactly where we're starting for our list of the week. That's over there at 1600 Atlantic Avenue.
My number one thing people should know about Long Beach Poly this year is they look pretty good. And I know that there's not a lot of names that people are familiar with yet, but what I've seen over there is the deepest line group they've had in a number of years, which, if you know the history of Poly football, is traditionally what has kind of determined what their success is going to be. Number 2 is just going to be the name Keontae Lanier. Has missed a lot of the spring and summer with a broken collarbone that he broke while making one of the best catches I've seen anyone from Long Beach make since Jack Jones. But this kid is the real deal. He is a legit receiver. He will be a Pac-12 receiver. He's a junior this year, but he's going to be worth the price of admission, in my opinion. He's got a great quarterback throwing the ball to him in Shea Kuykendall. And then number 3 is the Polys are back at Poly, man. For a number of years, we're not seeing a lot of Polynesian players over at Long Beach Poly. That's obviously a group that's been integral to their success over the last several decades. And it's really cool to see Samoan and Tongan players out there with the flags of their families' home countries on their pads. And they're doing a Patia chant pregame again because they have enough players to do that. Their senior captain, James Chuba Ma'ae, told us he thinks there's more Polynesian kids in the freshman class at Poly this year than were in the last 3 graduating classes combined. And again, if you've been following Poly football, you know that that's very good news.
Number 2, on the other side of town, the Wilson Bruins have very high expectations for very good reason. They're kind of in a golden era right now, last 4 years more successful than they've been since the 1960s. And I'd say that the first thing you need to know about Wilson is they've got 8 returning starters on offense, including quarterback Ryan Petway. He's thrown for 3,000 yards and 24 touchdowns in his 2 seasons as a starter. So 3-year starter at quarterback is really good. Having 7 other returning starters around him is great. On the other side of the ball, the linebacking core for Wilson is incredible. Logan Ziegenhagen is back from an injury that ended his season early last year, and Brett Dogowitz and Ethan Moxley are both 100-plus tackle guys at the linebacker position. So head coach Mark Ziegenhagen, who also coaches the linebackers, is going to be moving those guys around a lot. They've got really high football IQs, so they can handle a lot. But the number 3 thing you need to know about Wilson is, other than linebacker, their defense isn't very deep. They don't have a lot of depth on the line, and they don't have a lot of depth in the secondary, even though they've got good players in both of those cores. So if there's a couple injuries on the defensive side of the ball, that's immediately going to be the biggest concern for the Bruins this year.
I'm going to go with Milliken as my next team up. I did the preview for the Rams. The number 1 thing to know is the roof didn't fall down over there. You know, they were the second best team in Long Beach the last 2 years, going 5-1 in league both times, only losing to Poly. And when Justin Utupo left, I think a lot of people rightfully were like, what's the next step of this going to look like? I got a chance to go to a practice that new coach Romeo Pelham was running. It looks the same. The Rams look like they're very talented. They've got some D1 talent sprinkled out there. And so I think you can expect it to be Poly, Wilson, Milliken this year as interesting and exciting more league games. I'm very excited to see the Milliken-Wilson game in particular. Number 2, a guy with 3 names, Keanu Campbell-Caldwell. For my money, I would probably vote as the best quarterback in the Moore League coming into this season. I think a really dynamic guy who can do a lot, and I think this offense is going to suit him even better than it did last year. Number 3 is the name Xavier Staples. You can memorize that name. He's a receiver for the Rams. He is a D1 kid for sure. He's got several Division I offers. His coach Romeo Pelham and I both think he'll be a Pac-12 kid by the time it's all said and done. But 6'3", great hands, very fast. Very excited to see what Xavier Staples does this year.
Over at Lakewood, I already mentioned Scotty Meyer, Coach Jordan. He's already proven that he can come into Long Beach, take a team that isn't very good, doesn't have a lot of players, and build it into something really special. like he did with the Panthers, like he did at Corona Del Mar, where he was able to win CIF championships. He then went to Servite, but he is now back in Long Beach, coaching over there at Lakewood, a true Long Beach guy with a lot of history in the local area. And he said that one of the big things about rebuilding this Lakewood football program is kind of just getting the local parents to buy in and understand and know that they're going to take care of their kids. It's been a crazy last few years and a crazy mix of coaches over the last few years for Lakewood. So it's nice to see that right now they've got a guy who says and looks like he's in it for the long haul. Number two thing you need to know about Lakewood is they've got a lot of playmakers coming back on offense. You've got Mr. Bridges out there at wide receiver, also in the running for best name in the Moore League this year.
Mr. Bridges.
You've got Giovanni McCoy, the junior quarterback, back after starting as a sophomore. He's gotten a lot more stronger, specifically his arm strength, and he's a real good dual threat. He had some huge runs, and they are surrounded by guys who can make plays. We saw them do it last year, but the offense last year was Sebastian Kronberger first, second, and probably also third. And this year, Scotty Meyer's coming in, and this is the third thing you need to know, to call the offense. So Scotty Meyer, who made his name as a defensive coordinator, is now coming into Lakewood to call the offense. It's going to be a spread offense, so it's going to be completely different than anything you've seen at Lakewood since Thad McNeil and Jesse Scroggins were out there throwing the thing around. So it's going to be very exciting to see what happens with that offense, with Scott Meyer, getting a good group of talented guys and a hungry group of football players over at Lakewood.
Three things to know about Compton High School. Number one, they're very excited to get out and play football. This is a team that went 6-4 last year, but very easily could have gone 8-2. Instead, missed the playoffs. They were very frustrated about that. Number two, stability. Obviously, a lot of programs at Compton have very rapid turnover, but Calvin Bryant is still there as head coach. He's still there as athletic director, and I think that says everything about why they just had their first winning season in a decade. And then number three is the line. This is the biggest offensive line I've seen at Compton since the 2008 season that we covered, where they were really right up there with some of the other Moore League powers. They've got two 330-pound guys that can also move, not just big bodies. And yeah, you'll be hearing a lot about Israel Tornes and Sire Williams as the year goes on.
Over at Cabrillo, the Jaguars are using their recent losses as motivation this season. From the coaches to the players, everybody's like, yeah, we don't want to do that anymore. That's not fun. So they have a good, experienced group of seniors over there at Cabrillo, and they're hoping to turn things around, led by Roger McMillan, who was the second option last year, but certainly the number one option on offense. This year, he's going to line up all over the place, wide receiver, slot, running back. He's also going to play some defense. Look for him. Little number 2 for Cabrillo is a really exciting football player. But I think number 3, and probably the most important thing about Cabrillo's season, is they got to stop the run. They've got a really good defensive front 7, returning guys, seniors. Dudes have been playing together for like 4 years. Really, really close-knit group over there on defense. But that front 7's got to stop the run. And the way Cabrillo can maybe surprise some people and get a signature win is by keeping it low-scoring, physical, and frustrating. And I think there might be something special brewing on the west side with Coach Mike Ulafale back for his second year.
My next team is Jordan High School. The number one thing you need to know is that injuries suck. One of the guys we were most excited to cover this year was Anthony Scott at Fresno State. Nevada offers a really, really talented, big-bodied senior for the Panthers who was going to be the quarterback. He was going to be a receiver at times. He was going to be a strong safety. He was going to be a corner. He was going to be the kicker. He was going to be the punter. And instead, he tore his ACL before the season began, and now he is just going to be the best sideline manager in the Moore League. Very bummed out about everything that happened with him. Number 2, be positive. Tim Wedlow, the head coach at Jordan, is just one of the most optimistic, upbeat guys we've ever been around in the coaching ranks in the Moore League. And it's exactly what they need. You can feel the atmosphere over there is so friendly and open and positive. It's just super, super fun to see. And then number 3, Isaac Ochoa, the quarterback over there, might be a guy to keep an eye on. He was not necessarily the most successful guy in the Moore League last year, as Jordan certainly had some struggles protecting him, but he's gotten a lot bigger this year. He's back. He's been running the same offense for 2 years now, and I'm excited to see what he can do.
St. Anthony Saints, we mentioned they are going to be playing Valley Christian. They're also going to be playing some other local teams, and I think that's the number one thing you need to know about this group. they're not scared. They're going to play Warren. They're going to play Wilson. They play Valley Christian. They play these local games. They put themselves on the stage. They got disappointed last year. It did not go well. So they are young. They are rebuilding. The second thing you need to know about this group is that they have a lot of new coaches and they're playing the young guys. So it's kind of like a rebuild, reload year over there at St. Anthony with longtime head coach Mario Morales still at the helm. He is excited to have some guys back. One of them being Devontae Pollard. He had 9 sacks as a sophomore and then injured himself in one of the first games last year. So he pretty much missed all of his junior year back for his senior year at defensive end. We saw a guy like Curtis Weaver come in there to that St. Anthony program and really make a name for himself and be able to get to the next level at that exact same position. And the third thing you need to know is that Riley Jenkins could be really important to St. Anthony football this year. Basketball player, 6'4". He can go up and get it. He's got good speed. Maybe a few high point fade calls from Mario Morales and that offensive staff this year could get the Saints some big points.
My next team is LBCC, the only college football team in town, as we like to point out. Number one, rallying back. This team lost another player during the offseason, Brent LaRue. This is the 4th time this has happened for the Vikings program in the last 2 years. But at the practice I went out to, you could just see how happy everyone was to be together and how excited they are for the football season. Number 2, receivers. Obviously, when LBCC has been good, they've had some of the best receivers in the state, and that is definitely the case this year. Long Beach Poly bounced back Zion Bowens, who went and tried it out at Air Force, wanted to come back home to play, is on the sideline. He's a future D1 guy for sure. He ran track at Poly successfully and has a Division I speed already, as well as hands and route running ability. We're pretty fired up for him. Number 3 is the defensive line. Every time there's been a good defense at LBCC, it's been because there's been a defense that can wreak havoc up front, and that's what they've got this year. I'm very excited to see what that line does when they get on the field against a different opponent.
We cannot forget the mighty Avalon Lancers of Catalina. They are in that 8-man league, and they are poised to have another big year. 3 years ago, they won state. 2 years ago, they had a horrible season. The guys who were freshmen during that horrible season are now 3-year starting juniors, and they are on redemption road this year. They literally scheduled to play the teams that mollywopped them 2 years ago so that these kids can grow, get back, and try to get some revenge against those squads. The second thing you need to know about Avalon is they lost their quarterback a couple weeks ago. Kid transferred to Nebraska, Mike. You go from the island of Catalina
the college
to
or the state?
Nebraska. The state. He went to a different high school, so now they're actually trying to move a senior, their lone senior on the roster, Tony, to the quarterback position. So that's been interesting. Number 3, and actually maybe most importantly, get to know the name, Beto Martinez. We've written about him a few times. He is the Avalon Athlete of the Year. Last year, he's back here for his junior season, leading that talented junior group. And Beto's just do it all. They're going to move him around on offense and defense. He is a receiver, but when he's that good and you're playing in that league, you find a way to get that guy the ball. So there you go. There are all of your prep football teams here in Long Beach.